Today we're going to be taking a look at a new mod for the Steam Deck OLED, and that's the first available Hall Effect joystick upgrade. We've had Hall Effect joystick mods on the LCD model, but this is the first time we've ever seen it on the OLED, so let's take a look. Whether it's PS4, PS5, Xbox One, or even the Nintendo Switch, joystick drift is something that plagues all of these modern day controllers. Because of this, many manufacturers have switched to a new technology called Hall Effect, which is less drift prone. So that brings us to this new product. So this is the Hall Effect joysticks from Handheld DIY. They're currently in their Indiegogo campaign, and this is specific to the Steam Deck OLED. The first thing you see when you open it up is the two joysticks. These are both on a daughter board that connect directly to the Steam Deck over a ribbon cable. One thing Valve has done very well is make the Steam Deck very repairable, so you can see on this mod how easy it is to switch over. Taking a look at the joysticks, you can see that they're identical. The only difference is that they're completely mirrored. They're also labeled, so you really can't mess up which one goes where. There will be a couple minor changes between the version that I have, which is a prototype, and the final product. There's going to be this one component that's going to be moved to the other side. Another thing to note is that the joystick caps on mine are actually 3D printed, so don't worry about that for the final product. I've heard that that's going to be manufactured plastic, so it's just because mine's a prototype. If you're wondering why you can't just use your LCD model Hall Effect joysticks, they don't actually have the same daughter board. This one has the bumper button attached directly onto the daughter board. And taking a look at what else you get in the box, you actually get all the tools that you need to do this mod. So the first one you get is kind of like a guitar pick, except it's shaped a little different in this instance. And then you have the screwdriver that has the proper head on it for disassembling everything that you need to. And lastly, there's a plastic pry tool if you need to remove any ribbon cables. Now I'll actually show you how to install the joysticks. So what we need to do first is make sure that our device is fully powered off, and then we need to remove the 8 screws that are on the back. To remove the screws on the back, you can use the screwdriver that was provided in the kit. I used it in this video and I found that it worked perfectly fine for all of the screws. Once you've removed all the screws from the back, make sure that you remove the micro SD card so that you don't snap it in half. Your next step is to grab the guitar pick leg tool, and what you need to do is start in a corner. I recommend by the trigger and slide it all around so that you can unclip all of the clips before removing the shell. Once you've finished with all the clips, you should be able to just pull the back cover away. You don't need to worry about any ribbon cables. There's nothing there, so let's set that aside. And now that we've got the back cover removed, we can work on the actual joystick replacement. The first thing I recommend is to unplug the battery, but to get to the battery, we need to remove this heat shield. So there's 2 screws, one at the top and one at the bottom, so we need to remove both of those so we have access. Your screwdriver will work here as well. Now that we've got the screws out, if you lift up this ribbon cable here, underneath there's a wire that's taped to that metal shield, so just make sure you lift up the tape so that it doesn't end up getting pulled. And now that we've detached the cable, we can freely remove the shielding so that we can get access to the battery post. So the battery post is right here on the side. And what you need to do is actually pull the battery to the right. So I would recommend using a spudger tool to help it out. It does have a ribbon, but it felt like I was going to rip the wires out if I pulled too hard. Make sure that you don't rush this process. It's not worth damaging the battery cable. And once it slides out, we can go ahead and move it out of the way so it doesn't make contact. We'll start off first with our left joystick. So what we need to do is we need to lift up the tab here for the ribbon cable so that we can pull it out. So you can use a fingernail or that plastic spudger tool. And now you can slide the ribbon cable out of place, make sure it's not making contact. And now to remove the module, there's 3 screws. There's 2 on the right side and 1 on the left. Your screwdriver will work on these as well. Once you've removed the screws, you can pull it out of place and you can put the module aside for safekeeping. Now we can grab our Hall Effect replacement module and slide it in place. Make sure that you grab the one that's for the left. Although if you grab the right one, it definitely won't fit, so you can't really mess this up. And once you've got it lined up, you can go ahead and put those 3 screws in. And then you want to grab the ribbon cable, make sure to lift up the flap again and slide it into place. And then once you've slid it in, you can slide that flap down to secure it. Now we'll head over to the right joystick. So you can remove the ribbon cable first or do the screws. It doesn't really matter. So I did the screws first. Then make sure to lift up the flap for the ribbon cable here so you can slide it out. And then you can remove the module out of place. Now grab your replacement Hall Effect module, slide it into place. And once again, you need to secure the 3 screws followed by the ribbon cable. Once you've finished with the joystick module, then we'll move on to plugging in the battery, so just make sure to slide it into place and make sure that you have it fully inserted before you move on. After the battery is secured, we can put the metal plate back in place, make sure that you don't have the ribbon cable stuck underneath, and then put that piece of tape back on that was attached before. It's not a big deal if you miss that one step, but just make sure that the wires are not pinched. Now you can put in the 2 screws into the plate, the one that's at the top as well as the one that's on the bottom. And for the next step, we need to keep the back plate off, so let's move on to calibrating the joysticks. Now we can go ahead and turn on our device and get ready with the calibration process, so just hold the power button for a bit. It's going to take a little longer than normal because we unplugged the battery, so don't be alarmed. Mine took about 20 to 30 seconds before the logo appeared, so you could probably expect similar. Now that the device is fully booted up, we can press the Steam button and go down to settings. Then you want to head over to controller, then go to calibration and advanced settings and click open. Then when you're in the calibration menu, you want to select joysticks, and then you can pick either left or right depending on which one you'd like to do. So we're going to start with the left joystick here and test it out. Mine looks pretty good here, but that's because I have already calibrated it before doing this video, so I'm going to show you the process anyway. What you want to do next is you want to hold the joystick exactly in the middle. It's a little bit awkward to do this, but what you want to do is have that in the middle, and then there's 2 buttons at the back here. There's one at the top and the bottom. What you want to do is press the top button exactly when it's in the center. Now that I've got mine centered, I'm going to press the button and take a look to see how it went. So after pressing the button, you can see that it's pretty well exactly in the center. So you want to just make sure that it's exactly in the center, and when you let go of the joystick, move it around, that it actually returns to exactly center. Mine's a little bit off here, so I'll calibrate it again. To do that, all you have to do is, again, line it up to the center and then press the button once more. Now we're going to calibrate the outer edge, so we need to press the bottom button and you'll see a white LED start to flash. What you want to do now is rotate the joystick a few times in a complete motion, so make sure that you're going completely to the edge. And once you've done that a few times, then you just want to press the back button again. So that's the one at the bottom here. So just press the bottom K2 button and it will turn off and you're good to go. One thing to note is I did find a bug in the software for SteamOS, so sometimes when I would go back to this menu, it just wasn't recognizing. Like the joysticks you could see are working because I'm able to cycle through the menus, but I'm not able to actually spin it. If this happens, all you have to do is press the Steam button, exit the menu, and go back in, and it'll be right back to normal. And now that we've got one joystick calibrated, I'm not going to show you the other side because it's literally the exact same process, so do the same thing for the right side, and then you're good to go. And now if you'd like, you can go ahead and turn your dead zone all the way down to 0, and it should work perfectly fine. Now you can reattach the back plate, make sure to squeeze it so that all the clips go back in place, and then you can put back in the 8 screws. And that's pretty much it for the installation process. It doesn't really require a lot of experience to do this, so I would say this is fairly beginner friendly. After installing the joysticks, obviously I want to test them, see how they're working, and I tried a few different genres. So I tried FPS, some racing games, as well as some open world games. I found that being able to turn down the dead zone all the way was kind of nice. It helped with a little bit more precise movement, especially with like Halo Infinite here. With the stock Steam Deck sticks, sometimes you can go down to a 0 dead zone and it works fine. Other times there's a very slight drift, so you have to put it a little bit higher. But with this one, I found I had no issue. The next game I tested out is actually one of my favorites, and that's Cyberpunk 2077. I really wanted to test out just driving around to see how it handled. This game's driving mechanics are a little bit funky, but I found that driving around really wasn't an issue with the joysticks. It seemed fine. It was fine with the stock ones as well, but this one did feel nice and tight with having a low dead zone. And lastly, I tried an adventure game. This is God of War 2018, and I found that there was absolutely no issues with this game. This game doesn't really require a lot of precision, so I wasn't really expecting any issues. But I did want to test out a variety of games, and I found that there was no issues with any of the games I tested. So if you like modding your devices and are looking at some Hall effect joysticks for the Steam Deck OLED, it's finally here, and I recommend checking this out. As of the time of recording, Handheld DIY has an Indiegogo campaign that's currently live, and I also have some extra coupon codes for you guys in the comments. Depending on when you're watching this video, there may not be an Indiegogo campaign anymore. It might actually have shifted to their online store. So as I get an update on that, I'll update the video description as well as the pinned comment. A special thank you to Handheld DIY for giving me the opportunity to test this out for you guys. So check out their Indiegogo, and if it's something that you're interested in getting, let me know about it in the comments. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching.